The 2009-10 PSAC women's basketball season was one for the ages, as several records were set and one team, Gannon, came within 2 wins of a national championship. Although several of the top players in the conference departed after last season, the 2010-11 campaign that is about to get underway offers lots of hope and promise for several teams in a season that looks as wide open as any in recent memory. The preseason polls certainly reflect that sense of parity that should take place in the PSAC this year, as 8 of the 16 teams in the conference, 4 in each division, received first-place votes. Defending East champion Millersville leads the way in the East, as the Marauders picked up over half of the first-place votes, with Bloomsburg, Kutztown, and Westchester all expected to be in the hunt for the division crown. Over in the West, perennial contender California is the choice of half of the division's coaches to reclaim the spot atop the standings, while fellow annual contender IUP, as well as Erie County residents Gannon and Edinboro, are also expected to be in the mix. Now it's time to take a look at each PSAC team. Let's start in the PSAC East, where both Mansfield and East Stroudsburg are tied for 7th in the PSAC East poll. The Mountaineers graduated just 1 senior, and with 4 returning starters, head coach Ruth Hermanson will have one of her most experienced teams in recent years. Leading the way is preseason All-PSAC pick Mallory Moore, who a year ago ranked in the top 15 in the PSAC in 4 different categories: points, rebounds, free throw percentage, and steals, all while scoring in double figures 21 times and recording 8 double-doubles. A new era brings hope for a young team at East Stroudsburg, where Maureen Smith takes over the Warrior program after it struggled through a 4-23 campaign in 2009-10. This season, East Stroudsburg will not have any seniors, and 7 of the 10 players on its preseason roster will be either freshmen or sophomores. Cheyney will be the textbook definition of a new and young roster, as the Wolves will have an entirely 100% different team than last year, as not a single player from that veteran roster returns this season. With all new faces, head coach Marilyn Stevens will be looking to continue the recent success of the program, which has played in 2 of the last 3 PSAC tournaments and won 7 divisional games in each of the last 3 seasons. Shippensburg will have to contend with the loss of the PSAC's all-time leading scorer in Lauren Beckley, who graduated following a record-setting career with the Lady Raiders. However, the Raiders do return the other half from last season's most powerful 1-2 scoring punch in the league in senior Casey Gardner, who is the leading returning scorer in the PSAC, having finished 3rd overall at nearly 19 points per game. Kutztown will look to return to the PSAC tournament for the 3rd straight season on the back of standout Melissa McQuaid, a 2-time first-team All-PSAC East pick. The senior, who will likely become Kutztown's all-time leading scorer this season, leads an experienced team that also includes fellow seniors Meredith Starr and Kristen Murray. Westchester finished strong last season, which included scoring a double overtime upset of top-seeded Millersville in the PSAC tournament quarterfinals, and will return 3 starters as it aims for its 5th straight PSAC playoff appearance. The Golden Rams will feature one of the league's best backcourts with senior Megan Stewart and junior Allison Hostetter, who combined for 213 assists last year. Bloomsburg has undergone a remarkable transformation in head coach Bill Cleary's 2 seasons, going from last place in the East 2 years ago to 3rd last year, which came with the program's first PSAC tournament appearance since 2005, and all of which happened with a roster that featured only 2 players above sophomore eligibility. The Huskies will be aiming to go a bit further in the postseason this year, and will look to the last 2 East Freshmen of the Year to lead them there in junior Kelsey Gallagher and sophomore Dana Wheeler. Millersville, which has qualified for the PSAC tournament a PSAC best 14 straight seasons, is favored to make it 15 this season, with 9 returning letter winners from last year's 25-6 team that played in the NCAA Regional Finals. Leading the way is sophomore Mashira Newman, one of the top freshmen in the league in 2009-10, and senior Dominique Stroman, who will be the only senior on an otherwise young team. Shifting our attention to the PSAC West, Lockhaven should have one of its most experienced teams in recent years as the Lady Eagles look to climb up the West standings. They return 4 starters, 5 of their top 6 scorers, and their top 4 rebounders. Leading the way is last year's leader in both scoring and rebounding, Kristen Kudrick, and juniors Sheree Hall and Peaches Neesmith. There is a new coach at Slippery Rock as Tanya Longo takes the reins of a program that has just one PSAC tournament appearance in the last 8 seasons. In order to make it back to the postseason this year, Longo will need to successfully blend a roster that features just one senior in Grace Palusis, 7 returning sophomores, and 8 newcomers, including 4 junior college transfers. Veteran Clarion head coach Guy Parsons will have one of the youngest squads of her career, as only 2 players who saw any action last year return in 2010-11. The duo of juniors Courtney Healy and Joanna Catalano combined for just 7.3 points per game last year, and this year will be joined by 11 true or redshirt freshmen who will make up nearly 80% of the roster. As Mercyhust will be looking to qualify for its first PSAC tournament in this, its 3rd season in the league, the Lakers may have just the veteran team to do so. Senior and preseason all-conference pick Amy Atchisinsky, the team's leader in both scoring and rebounding the last 3 seasons, leads the way for the Lakers, who return all 5 starters, including fellow senior Samantha Lodeman and juniors Nikki Fredrickson and Megan Hoffman. Now entering his 24th season as head coach at Edinboro, tied for the longest current tenure in the PSAC, Stan Swank will have to contend with the loss of 2 of the greatest players in program history in Kelsey Conklin and Samantha Reimer. However, there is still plenty of talent for the Fighting Scots to stay in the upper half of the West, and junior Renee Brown, a former West Freshman of the Year and the team's leading rebounder last season, will lead the way after averaging nearly 13 points a game as a sophomore. After a 37-1 record and a trip to the Final Four, it will be tough for Gannon to duplicate last season, as the Lady Knights lose all 5 starters from last year's record-setting team. All of the supporting cast from last season's PSAC and NCAA Regional Championship team do return, however, and that group is led by preseason all-conference pick Julie Kleber, as well as fellow senior Shauna Thompson, a pair that combined for nearly 16 points and over 7 rebounds per game. IUP will be aiming for its 6th straight PSAC playoff berth, and in what looks to be a wide-open race, the Crimson Hawks should contend for the West title as well. IUP's expectations are high as its top 3 leading scorers return in seniors Lacey Clore and Aaron Withers, as well as last year's Freshman of the Year in the Western Division in Sarah Pastorik, all of whom averaged double figures. California is looking to continue one of the most impressive streaks in conference history, one that has seen the Vulcans advance to the conference championship game in the last 10 consecutive seasons. Although they will have to replace the production of Brooke Williams, who ended her career as the 3rd leading scorer in PSAC history, the Vulcans will have one of the best players in the conference once again this year in forward Kayla Smith, the only returning player in the PSAC to average a double-double in 2009-10.